Hey guys, it's Kate from The Artery, and today we're going to be making some Nōtan cut paper artwork. Nōtan is a Japanese word, and it refers to balance between light and dark and finding the harmony between those lights and darks. So in Nōtan art, there's often a perfect balance between the black space and the white space in an artwork. So to create that perfect balance in our artwork today, we're going to be taking a black square, cutting out pieces of it and flipping them so they line up on the outside of the square. And that way we'll have a perfect balance between our black and our white space. So what we'll be needing today for our project is our little black square paper, a large white paper. I would recommend 11 by 14, or you could use a larger square paper. You'll need scissors, you'll need glue, so either your white Elmer's glue and a glue brush, or you can use a glue stick, and a pencil and eraser, just in case we want to mark any measurements out, or if we want to plan in advance what we're going to cut. I think the best way to do this project is to just dive in and start cutting shapes out of your black paper. The only things that you want to keep in mind is you definitely want to save all of those little shapes you're cutting out because we'll need them. And try not to cut your paper up into sections. Like, don't cut all the way from one side to another. You can if you want, but it makes it a bit easier if you just treat that black square like one object and cut shapes out of it. I would recommend doing the freehand method first. If you have some kind of design that you really want to make, you can grab another square of black paper and try again using your design. But I think it's really important to get the hang of your technique first, just by cutting into the paper and then flipping those little shapes so that they mirror on the other side of the square, just so you can understand the process of what's happening. So I'm just kind of randomly cutting into the square, and I'm aligning all of my shapes to begin with, just to see kind of what it's going to look like. But something I found in this process is that if you don't really pay attention to your shapes, you'll end up doing kind of like a puzzle at the end where you try to figure out where all those shapes match up. I found that fun for me. If you're the type of person who doesn't enjoy doing puzzles, you might want to keep track of where all of your little shapes go to, but I thought it was kind of a fun little challenge to try and figure out where all of those shapes matched up at the end. You don't have to go super crazy and cut a ton out of your square like I'm doing. Your square can get a little bit fragile at the end if you cut a lot out of it, so just be really careful with it. It can get super delicate, so try not to rip it. Of course, if you do rip it or accidentally cut through, you can always reassemble it once you glue it down. Once you've done all of your cutting and you are satisfied, it's time to glue your square down to your paper. There's no right side or wrong side of the paper. We just want to make sure that we cover the whole thing with glue. I'm using a glue stick here. I think it might be easier to use your Elmer's glue and glue brush. Just make sure you put it on a different surface while you cover it in glue so that you don't coat your white paper in glue. I just grabbed a page from a magazine and put my black square on top of that. Then carefully lift your square onto your white paper and try to get it as close as back to a square as possible. Mine's very fragile and has a lot of moving parts to it, so I just went really slowly and used my finger to smooth down each little section of my black square and tried to get it back into that square shape that it was before. You might have some places that need a little bit more glue added. This is where that glue and glue brush is really going to come in handy. It's a little bit more tricky with the glue stick, but we're going to smooth everything down. And now we're at the fun part of our project where we get to reassemble the puzzle. So we're finding all of those shapes that we cut out and we're flipping them so they're creating a mirror image on the outside of our square. For this part, I grabbed my magazine page and I put it to my right so that I could put those pieces down on it and glue them and then put them on my paper. So I'm making sure to only glue the pieces that I'm putting down onto my paper so that our paper doesn't get all covered in glue. I found this process pretty relaxing. You just have to find the corresponding pieces and match them up and make sure that they're flipped. I definitely think this is a project you can do multiple times and try out different types of shapes and maybe come up with a design beforehand that you want to try out. I didn't really have anything specific in mind when I was cutting my shapes, but I really like the way that it turned out. I think it looks kind of like water or tentacles or maybe some vines growing or something like that. So it's kind of a cool piece of abstract art, and I'm definitely going to try this again using different shapes. I hope you guys enjoyed making this project. As always, if you have any photos of your work that you want to send to our email at info@theartery.org, we'd love to see it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.